The glove compartment was empty when I picked up the car. That's what I assumed, anyway. I did what most people do when they get into a rental, adjusted the mirrors, moved the seat, connected my phone to the Bluetooth, threw my sunglasses in the glove compartment without looking inside first. We were running slightly late. My wife was loading the last bag into the trunk. My daughter was already asking how long the drive would take. It was a normal departure morning, and I was moving at departure morning speed. It wasn't until the second day of the trip that I opened the glove compartment properly, looking for the rental agreement, which I thought I'd put in there and had actually left in my bag. I reached in and my hand found something before my eyes did. Small, flat, paper. I took it out. A photograph, printed on matte paper, the kind you get from a home printer rather than a photo lab. Not large, roughly the size of an index card. Clear enough despite the print quality. My house, shot from the street, from what looked like a car window based on the angle and the slight reflection in the lower corner of the frame. My front door visible, the specific angle of my driveway, the oak tree in the front yard that I'd planted the year we moved in. I turned it over. On the back, in handwriting I didn't recognize, a date. 3 days ago, the same day I had picked up the rental car. The same morning we had loaded the trunk and driven away, and I had not once looked inside the glove compartment. I sat in the passenger seat of a parked rental car on the second day of a family holiday and held a photograph of my own house and tried to find an explanation that made the date on the back mean something other than what it appeared to mean. I couldn't find one. We had been planning the trip for 2 months. Nothing complicated. A week at a rental house on the coast. Far enough to feel like a proper break. Close enough that the drive was manageable in a day. My wife had handled most of the logistics. I had handled the car, because we decided early on that our own vehicle wasn't ideal for the distance and the amount we were bringing. I'd booked through a national chain, mid-size, automatic, nothing memorable about the transaction. The pickup had been early morning, a branch near our house, one of those anonymous forecourts with a prefabricated office and a row of identical vehicles waiting under fluorescent lights. The man who processed the paperwork was efficient and incurious. He walked me around the car for the standard exterior check, noted a small scuff on the rear bumper that was already on the form, handed me the keys, and that was it. 4 minutes from arrival to departure. I drove home, we finished loading, and we left. The drive took most of the day. My daughter watched a film on her tablet for the first 2 hours and then slept. My wife and I talked about nothing in particular, the kind of conversation that's really just the sound of two people being comfortable in the same space. The landscape changed outside the windows. The traffic thinned as we got further from the city, and by the time we arrived at the rental house in the early evening, I had forgotten about everything except the holiday. The house was good. Old stone building, thick walls, a garden that ran down to a low wall with fields beyond it. The kind of place that imposes a pace, slower, quieter, less connected. I slept better the first night than I had in months. It was a good trip, right up until the moment it wasn't. I didn't tell my wife about the photograph that day. I put it back in the glove compartment, closed it, and sat with it for the rest of the afternoon while we walked along the coastal path and my daughter collected stones and the light went gold over the water. I told myself I was waiting for the right moment. I was actually waiting to understand it better before I said it out loud, because saying it out loud would make it real in a way I wasn't ready for. That evening after my daughter went to bed, I went back out to the car. I took the photograph inside and sat at the kitchen table with my phone and looked at it properly. The angle confirmed what I thought. Shot from a vehicle, slightly elevated. The kind of perspective you get from a car window rather than a standing position. The framing was deliberate, not a passing shot, not something taken quickly in motion. The car had been stationary. The photographer had framed it. Then I opened the navigation system. I wasn't sure what I was looking for. Something to do, I think, something practical to occupy the part of my brain that was running too fast. I pulled up the route history out of habit, the same way you might check a hotel's previous channel selections without any particular purpose. The history hadn't cleared. I sat in the kitchen of a rented house on the second evening of our holiday and scrolled through the previous user's navigation history, felt the temperature in the room change. 14 saved destinations, dating back across what appeared to be multiple weeks. The system logged dates alongside each route. The earliest was from 6 weeks ago. The first destination was an address I didn't recognize. A commercial district in our city, generic enough, could have been anything. The second was a supermarket, not the one I used. No connection I could identify. The third was a street I knew. Not my street, a street 3 blocks from mine, the one I sometimes used as a cut-through. The fourth was my daughter's school. I looked at it for a long time. The address was correct. The school's name was in the search history, typed in full. The date was 8 weeks ago, a Tuesday, which would have been a school morning. I kept scrolling. The fifth destination was my mother-in-law's address. Specific street and house number, correct. The sixth was my office building. I put the phone down on the table and looked at the wall. Then I picked it up again and kept going. Out of 14 saved destinations, 9 were addresses or locations with a direct connection to my family. My daughter's school, my office, my mother-in-law's house. A restaurant we went to regularly, close enough to our house to be a neighborhood place rather than a destination. The pediatric clinic where my daughter had her checkups. My wife's gym. The remaining 5 I couldn't immediately place. 2 residential addresses I didn't recognize. 2 commercial addresses. One that appeared to be a parking area near a park occasional. Someone had been driving this car to the places my family for at least 6 weeks before I picked it up. And 3 days before I picked it up, they had been parked outside my house. I woke my wife. I showed her the navigation history first, walking her through it destination by destination while she sat at the kitchen table and her expression moved through stages I reckon: confusion, skepticism, the specific moment when skepticism gives way to something else. Then I showed her the photograph. She turned it over and read the date. She looked at me and then looked at the photograph again and said nothing for a moment. Then she asked whether I had called the rental company. I called them the next morning. A customer service line, national number, the standard sequence of hold music and menu options. When I reached a person, I explained what I'd found as concisely as I could. I gave them the vehicle registration, the booking reference, and asked for the contact details of the previous renter. They said they couldn't share customer information. I said I understood that and explained that I had reason to believe the previous renter had been surveilling my family. I asked if they could at least confirm whether the vehicle had been rented to a single customer before me and for how long. There was a pause. The representative said she would need to escalate the call. She put me on hold for 11 minutes and came back with a supervisor. The supervisor was careful and courteous and told me nothing useful. He said the vehicle's previous rental history was customer data and could not be disclosed without a legal request. He said if I had concerns about criminal activity, I should contact law enforcement. He said he was sorry I'd had this experience. I contacted law enforcement, the local police. We were still at the holiday house. Took the report seriously enough to send an officer that after he looked at the photograph, looked at the navigation history on my phone, and wrote everything down. He said he would forward the report to force covering our home area, as that was where the relevant activity appeared to have taken place. He said they would be in contact. They were in contact 4 days later, after we'd returned home. An officer came to the house, took a full statement, photographed the photograph. She said they had requested the rental records through the appropriate channel, waiting on the company's legal team to respond. That was 6 weeks ago. The rental company responded eventually. Their legal team provided records confirming the vehicle had been rented to one previous customer for us. The customer's details, when traced, turned out to correspond to an identity that did not match any verifiable person. A name, an address, a license number, all of it clean on the surface and none of it, when checked against actual records, attached to a real individual. The investigation is technically still open. That's what the officer tells me when I call, which I do every few weeks. Still open. Inquiries ongoing. No updates to share at this time. We've changed our routines. My daughter takes a different route to school now, a longer one, less direct, chosen specifically because it's less predictable. My wife changed her gym. I stopped using the cut-through street 3 blocks from our house. We had a security system installed, the proper kind with external cameras, and I check it more than I need to. What I can't change is the timeline. 6 weeks of navigation history, 9 destinations connected to my family, a photograph taken on the morning I collected the car from outside my house by someone who knew I was picking it up that day. That last part is the one I keep returning to. The booking was made in my name through an account linked to my email address at a specific branch on a specific morning. The only way to know which car I would be collecting and when was to have access to that booking, to know my name, my reservation, the branch location, the pickup time. I've changed my passwords. I've been through every account I can think of for signs of access I didn't authorize. I found nothing, but someone knew. They knew which car I would be driving before they left something in it for me to find, and they put a date on the back so that when I found it, I would understand exactly what the date. That's not surveillance. That's communication. A deliberate, considered message from someone who wanted me to know they had been close to my house, close to my family, close to every place that mattered, and that they had been close for longer than I knew. I still drive rental cars sometimes. Work trips, mostly, when my own car isn't practical. I check the glove compartment before I do anything else now. I check the navigation history. I check under the seats. I haven't found anything since, but I check every time, without exception. Because the thing about a message is that once someone is sent, you can never fully stop waiting for the next one.